Hi there! So in today's episode, I'm gonna show you how I refinished this old and outdated tiletop table, which I got from Facebook Marketplace, and updated it into a farmhouse style kitchen table. So stay tuned! For this project, I thought I'd list out the things that I used so that you can just pause the video right here if you'd like to get the full list. So let's get started. First, I line my floor with some plastic bags because I'm gonna do some painting and I don't want it on my carpet. And if you're wondering why I'm doing this indoors, it's because I got this table delivered right into my dining room because it was just so heavy. It was oak wood and I just couldn't lift it, let alone bring it outside to refurbish. The next thing I'm doing here is that I'm lining the tile portion of the table with painter's tape. And this is because I will be using citry strip for the first time and I don't know how it would react with the tile. It might cause some discoloration which can make my work harder. So I thought, let's just line it to be safe. But in hindsight, honestly, it didn't matter. It had no effect. So I completely forgot that the table had a leaf portion. So this is what I'm doing now. I'm just pulling it out, opening it up, and cleaning it. It seems that it has not been opened for a very long time and there's a lot of dust. And I'm just using some regular multi-purpose cleaner, just wiping it off and cleaning away. And now I've lined the entire table with painter's tape. And so I think it is time to start pouring our citry strip. So here we go. And I'm just trying to pull it really liberally because the paint really sticks to the glue. So I'm thinking the more that I put, the more effective it would be. So let me just put it in fast mode so I won't bore you, but the idea is to just pour the citry strip and paint it on. The gooier and the messier, the better. And so just really have fun with it. So I'm just painting away, putting in on every nook and cranny, on the sides, on the top, on the center leaf, and applying just a really thick coat on it. And I'm just gonna let it sit for about half an hour because that's what the instructions of the citry strip said. And don't forget to put gloves and a mask and open your windows for ventilation. So this is me 30 minutes later, eager to scrape away. And as I scrape away, I can see that it is really working. The paint and the old varnish, the wood stains are coming off. And it's really effective. But the problem is it is really messy and gooey and sticky and hard to remove. At this point, I'm starting to think to myself, there's still some color in the wood and I may have given it too little time. So here I am doing a second layer and thinking I would leave it for longer. Let it sit for probably a few more hours. So I'm applying it very liberally and like I said, letting it sit. Not 30 minutes this time, probably like an hour or two. And now it's nighttime, but it's also starting to look good, right? The second layer really made the wood look more stripped down and it really took out most of the paint. So now after removing the citry strip, it's time to sand. And so I take a coarse sandpaper, which is about 150 grit, and I start to sand away. And then I realized that, like what many others have said, that the citrus strip is so gooey that it sticks to the sandpaper. And that was the hardest part of the project. It was really hard to scrape it off and to fully remove all the citrus strip from the table. So I'm sanding away and I'm trying various things. This time I'm like trying to remove it with soapy water. I'm scrubbing, I'm wiping away, and just doing all sorts of things to try and remove the citrus strip. This is me trying to use a vacuum to just remove the dust from the sandpaper and clean it up real good. Also from trying to use the vacuum to remove the goo. And so this is actually the second night. And as you can see, I've also refinished the tile. And I linked my other video on how I redid this tile for the kitchen table. But it's already looking good, right? Now I'm just removing the painter's tape that I lined the tile with. And again, resanding the tile again to make the wood smooth and to remove some paint marks that I accidentally made as I was refinishing the tile. And I used 400 grit sandpaper, but as you can see, it's really a pain trying to take the paint out. So I quickly realized that the 400 grit sandpaper isn't really doing anything. It's too fine. So I decided to go for a more coarse grit. So now I'm doing 150. And that was actually more effective in removing the excess paint on the wood and keeping the wood surface smooth. So just scrubbing the little paint dots that I left on the table, making sure that the wood is clean and even. And now I'm just taking a clean paintbrush and brushing away the dust from the sandpaper. And now I'm putting mineral spirits on my table. And from what I've watched on YouTube and what I've read, this can really help remove those last bits that you can't really see or dust away with a paintbrush. And at the same time, putting in this mineral spirit can give you an idea of the natural color of your table, which was the look that I was after. So I'm starting to be really happy with what I'm seeing now. And finally, now I'm putting on some wipe-on poly. And I started on the wooden portion of the table only. But then I tried it on a small part of the tile and decided it was safe. So I decided to just put it on the tile as well. So I am pretty much pouring it on the whole thing now. Both on the tile and the wood. So basically the entire table. Really starting to see the shine and the protective coating on the table now. So the instructions on the wipe-on poly said to sand it in between coats. So this is what I'm doing here. I'm just sanding again to make sure that the coats are even. And then also again dusting the sand away with a clean paintbrush. And now putting on the final coat of the wipe-on polyurethane. And this time I'm really putting a liberal coat on both the wood and the tile. And maybe I would speed it up a little bit because we're almost done. Just putting in the last finishing touches. And wait for it to dry. But it's really looking good. And at this point, while waiting for it to dry, I'm thinking maybe I should start doing my cleanup. So I'm just reusing and folding the plastic bags that were on my floor because I was thinking I could still use them again. So I'm turning them inside out and folding them. And of course, also doing the vacuuming because of all the dust that we got from the table. And here it is. Here's the finished product. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Just looking at that stubborn stain from the leaf, I couldn't get out. But overall, I'm very happy. So, not bad for a first project, right? So, yeah, thanks for watching.